United Nation reacts with joy to the election of Donald Trump and with anger, with anti-Trump protesters demonstrating across the country as Mr. Trump goes to Washington.
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
Will Trump be able to heal the widening divisions in this country? I'll talk to his campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Plus, email fallout again. Hillary Clinton blames her loss directly on FBI Director James Comey, saying his announcement stopped her momentum. Also, not only have Democrats lost the presidency, the Senate, the House, and state legislatures all remain in Republican hands. How do Democrats rebuild? Senator Cory Booker and Congressman Keith Ellison join me. And did Donald Trump win the election? Or did Hillary Clinton lose it? We'll dig into the numbers. Joining me for insight and analysis are David Brooks, columnist for the New York Times; Katty Kay, anchor of the BBC's World News America; Hugh Hewitt, host on the Salem Radio Network; and former Ohio State Senator and Bernie Sanders supporter, Nina Turner. Welcome to Sunday and the post-election edition of Meet the Press.
From NBC News in Washington, this is Meet the Press with Chuck Todd.
Good Sunday morning, and boy, this is no ordinary Sunday. If there's one idea that was validated on Tuesday, it's that we live in a split-screen country. Half the country feels it finally got its country back, and the other half fears they lost their country on Election Day. Half the nation once again feels at home in a country they recognize. The other half worries that they're now homeless in their own home country. And that split-screen idea is reflected in the vote. Right now, with 93% of the vote counted, Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump by more than 600,000 votes, larger already than Al Gore had in the popular vote over George W. Bush. And she'll almost surely end up winning the popular vote, perhaps by as much as 2 percentage points. But elections are not won that way. They are won and lost in the Electoral College, and Trump's victory has sparked protests around the country over the past few days. One question many people are asking is, how did the polls get it so wrong? Hillary Clinton has one answer. Yesterday, she said FBI Director James Comey's 2 email announcements, 11 days before the election and the other one 2 days before the election, proved fatal. Clinton told donors, quote, "Our analysis is that Comey's letter raising doubts that were groundless, baseless, proven to be, stopped our momentum." The election shocker put Republicans in control of all the levers of power in Washington and many levers around the country, and it has left Clinton voters asking themselves, what just happened?
So Hillary called, and it was a lovely call, and it was a tough call for her.
In a Category 5 political storm, we missed what should have been clear. Donald Trump is the latest in a series of winning presidential candidates who faced opponents with deep resumes or perceived experience. And as they did in 1980, 1992, 2000, and 2008, Americans voted for change in 2016.
If we have learned nothing else from the past 2 years of electioneering, we should hear that message loud and clear, that the American people want Washington to change.
In the Rust Belt, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, Trump turned reliably blue states red. How'd he do it? Number one, like Reagan and Obama before him, Trump won the support of white working-class voters in big blue-collar suburbs. Macomb County, outside Detroit, home of the Reagan Democrats, was one of 12 Obama counties in Michigan that voted Trump.
I think many people also missed the fear that is really in working men's, women's hearts and souls. 2008 scared people.
Number two, the Obama coalition did not turn out where it needed to. Turnout was down among African-American voters. In Cuyahoga County, home to Cleveland, Clinton got 63,000 fewer votes than Obama did 4 years ago. Democratic votes were down in Wayne County, home to Detroit, and in Milwaukee County. Number three, Trump spiked the vote in rural America. While Romney won voters in rural areas and small towns in Pennsylvania by 19 points, Trump won them by 45 points.
The rural jobs are tougher to find, so all of these different factors, made it a little easier for Donald Trump and his campaign focusing on immigrants taking jobs, trade deals causing jobs to be lost.
And Clinton also struggled to articulate why voters should support her beyond the fact that she was not Trump. What is the big idea of your candidacy?
Look, we are stronger together. We are stronger together in facing our internal challenges and our external ones.
Instead of running clear economic messaging in small town and rural America, as Obama's campaign did in 2012,
now he has a plan that would give millionaires another tax break.
Clinton's campaign focused on temperament.
Knock the crap out of him, would you?
For half of America, Tuesday's outcome is unfathomable.
Discourse in this country has changed forever.
The other half celebrate.
What I'm seeing is a return back to family values.
And joining me now is the woman who ran the Trump campaign and is now helping with the transition, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Chuck.
Let me start. It's amazing what a difference a month makes. A month ago, Speaker Paul Ryan was disinviting Donald Trump from a big rally in Wisconsin as early as 24 hours before the election, saying, you know, Donald Trump didn't speak for the Republican Party. Obviously, Paul Ryan's changed his tune. On Election Day, you and I had a conversation, and you were sort of setting up the idea that maybe if he comes up short, the Republican Party has a lot to answer for. So is this victory because of the Republican Party or despite of it?
Oh, because of the Republican Party, but mostly because of Donald J. Trump. I mean, he created a movement. You see the turnout in these counties that went for Donald Trump and Mitt Romney being way up for Trump. You see the counties and the states that were more for Hillary Clinton being way down in turnout. So I think the enthusiasm and the momentum, Chuck, that Donald Trump created as part of his movement really ended up translating into votes on Election Day. I hope even those who were critical of Mr. Trump, of President-elect Trump, I like the sound of that, I hope that they at least learn something from the voters. That's what so many of us have been urging from the beginning. You want to grow the Republican Party? Pay attention to what he's done.
Before the election, there were Democrats telling Hillary Clinton if she won, she needed to spend time in red America. Does Donald Trump need to spend some time in blue America and not just have rallies with his supporters, but maybe have town halls with opponents?
Sure, he's already shown his willingness to spend time in blue America. It's actually how he won the election, busting the blue wall that people said we couldn't do.
No, but there's a difference.
Also,
There's one thing going to states where he finds voters who agree with him, but talking to voters who disagree with him.
Well, he found a lot of voters who disagreed with the Republican Party all along, and they voted for him. Those were the undercover Trump voters we tried to talk about for months under a hail of ridicule.
You had said yesterday that a chief of staff announcement was imminent. Who a president names as chief of staff does set a tone. I want to quote Dan Balls from this morning. Do Trump's core followers want Washington to work better, or do they expect him to be more disruptive as a president? And it seems as if Reince Priebus, chairman of the RNC, as chief of staff, would send one direction about working with Paul Ryan. Steve Bannon, campaign chair, Breitbart, might send a more disruptive message. Should we read into that depending on who he names?
Well, they'll both have big roles in a Trump administration, in my view, as well as they should. I mean, it was a very small core senior team, probably less than 10 people all told, and I'm sure that everyone will be very important to the president moving forward. I will say this, though. I think having worked with him and known him, Steve Bannon in this particular campaign was the general, and he is much more the Goldman Sachs managing partner and much more the naval officer, I think, than people realize. That's a big part of his
what
background.
You're saying is he wouldn't come in to say, let's burn Washington down, proverbially?
I think that the president-elect is there to actually implement his first 100-day plan, and those around him know that and will appreciate that, whether it's within his inner circle or on Capitol Hill. We are very grateful in Trump world to both Bannon and Priebus, and I think you'll see them continue to work together. We all work very closely together. This is a mandate, and those of us who are around him will support him wanting to do stuff.
All right, but you say it's a mandate. How do you explain losing the popular vote?
Well, you've got big states in there like California and Illinois, New York.
All part of America.
Well, of course they're part of America.
No, but that's my point. So that's half the country. I mean, it's one thing to claim a mandate, and I think governing-wise, I get what you're saying. But you do have a public opinion-wise or popularity-wise, that's a different story. How do you square the two? How do you square the
Chuck,
two?
My colleagues across the aisle in Brooklyn and Team Clinton are very smart people. I respect them very much. But they misread America. They did not have her in red states. They were pretending that they were going to turn red blue. They were pretending. It was literally said, and all of you covered it like it was gospel. Literally said, we will know this election result before Election Day because of the early vote. False, but written about. She had a good election. She had a good early voting, but horrible Election Day turnout. Then it was, quote, we will have historic turnout. False, but it was written about and covered as if it were true because it came from them. Well, I just want to say to you about him, he has put out an agenda that everybody can see.
Right.
He has talked about what his replacement for Obamacare would be. He has talked about his plan to defeat radical Islamic terrorism. He's going to create 25 million jobs over 10 years, invest in energy and infrastructure. It's all there.
Let me ask you one final question. Hillary Clinton pinned the blame for her loss on James Comey. Do you believe Comey did have an impact, whether a direct impact or not? Do you believe it had some help to your candidacy in the last 11 days?
I think it's unfortunate that for Secretary Clinton, who is a woman of enormous gifts and talents, and she should be commended for putting herself out there and running for president twice, I just can't believe it's always somebody else's fault. Sometimes you just have to take a look in the mirror and reflect on what went wrong. We saw the polls tightening, as you must have, before the Comey announcement on October 28th. And I think to recognize the fact that 40 million people have already voted, they can't have it both ways in Clinton world. They were quoted that very weekend, Chuck, on your show and others as saying, oh, people have already decided, people have already incorporated the email scandal into their voting decisions. Now they're going back and saying he had an impact. What about the fact that they just got it wrong? What about the fact they weren't in touch with Americans and the cultural zeitgeist and the issue set that motivates many Americans? What about the fact that people felt like they had nothing in common, no connective tissue with Hillary Clinton?
I'm going to leave it there. By the way, congratulations, the first woman to run a successful presidential campaign as campaign manager.
Thank you. I'm thrilled for the country.
That should not get lost in all of this. Thanks for coming on.